Americans were shocked to find out a Chinese spy balloon was floating over the United States, possibly collecting military and other intelligence. But my next guest says Chinese espionage is targeting a wide range of other sectors, too. Joining me now, Constellation Research Chairman and Principal Analyst Ray Wang. Ray, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So let's start with tech, which has big risk if relations continue to deteriorate. Perhaps none more than Apple. That company has shifted a small fraction of manufacturing to India and Vietnam, but it employs something like 3 million workers in China. What is at risk for Apple?
There's a lot of risk, right? It's the market in China, which is almost 20 to 23% of their business. It's also their ability to do high-scale manufacturing. Like, think of all the iPhones that are being produced. Every run is almost 200 to 300 million iPhones. And of course, it's also about the technology infrastructure they put into place, from supply chain to their ability to manufacture cases and chips, and of course, the iPhones and other gadgets that we love.
And could that go away or slip away or just become, well, what would happen if tensions got even worse?
Well, I have to give Tim Cook a lot of credit. He's done a good job managing the relationships given the constraints he has. But he's looking at making iPhones in India. He's looking at making iPhones in Vietnam and MacBooks in Indonesia and Thailand and other places. And that deglobalization and decoupling of supply chains is real, right? And that's just electronics and high-end electronics. There's other industries that are also doing that as well as they're planning. But you don't do it overnight. This is like a 5 to 10 year transition.
Speaking of that, let's talk about semiconductors. We're very reliant on China for semiconductors, of course. What is the path to independence? Is that all U.S. manufacturing? Can we outsource? Of course, there's the Taiwan issue.
There are a lot of issues with manufacturing, but you notice that with the CHIPS Act and the ability to actually build manufacturing in the U.S., that's going to take 3 to 5 years. Intel's doing that. You see TSMC looking at this. And once again, we're at risk in terms of the chips that we have. And especially companies like Tesla and Apple that are in China, they've got to figure out how to navigate that.
So you've described this as a tech war with China. Can you give us a sense, outside of semis, where are we winning? Where is China ahead?
Well, there's a war on all different fronts, and there's 7 categories that are important. Let's take quantum computing. We're slightly ahead of that, right? We've got companies that are able to do that, and that's like this new era of computing that allows you to forecast and do things in a different way. Artificial intelligence, we're slightly ahead there, but China has more data, and that's because the government can access data, and data privacy is a foreign concept in China, right? All that data belongs to the country. Biotech is an area where we kind of had a lead, but we have restrictions for moral reasons or ethical reasons around gene editing that get in the way. But let's say they protect us from creating mutants. Clean tech, that's an interesting one. We were ahead in that area, but basically what we've done is we lost our supply chains, things like lithium mining or any of the rare earth metals that are required to build batteries, right? Solar panels have mostly invented in Germany, ended up in China for manufacturing. And what we're doing is we're paying a lot for that technology. And by the time it comes mainstream, it will be very cheap for China to deploy it in their own country. Aerospace and defense, that's another area where airplanes and rockets and manufacturing, China's been learning from Airbus. We haven't put our supply chains there, but the Europeans have. And now China has their own C919 jet that will be popping up in their domestic production areas. And then, of course, startup funding with their Belt and Road Initiative.
Sure. This is going to be certainly a long road. I want to ask you about some recent news. Fan Bao, one of the most famous, well-known investment bankers in China, has suddenly gone missing. I mean, it sounds to me a lot like what happened with Jack Ma. And it raises issues. I mean, I hope he's okay, but also, as an investor, is it safe to put your money in that country? And what is a guy like Tim Cook thinking when something like that can happen?
There's a lot of risk. As I said, Tim has been very diplomatic in his approach to doing that. But if you become more famous than Xi Jinping or people within the party or the country, you put yourself at risk. If you speak out, you put yourself at risk. And tech entrepreneurs do not feel safe in China. This has been going on for quite some time. You saw that when Taiwan actually built their semiconductor, their complex manufacturing in China. Everybody thought it would be a great relationship. People spoke the same language, came from a common history, but the result was people's plants were taken from them, their IP was stolen from them, and you couldn't get your money out of China.
One last question before I let you go. Christopher Wray, the FBI director, said China aimed to, quote, ransack the intellectual property of Western companies. Is that overstating it, or do you agree?
I think the challenge here is our technology, intellectual property is so valuable. I agree with your statement. You know, it's a concerted effort. It's targeting university professors. It's targeting people that have retired from industries. It's providing academic missions, you know, to come over and share their ideas and come do it for a consulting fee. It's also by theft and blackmail. I know your cousin works here and maybe he can come help us if you don't want to see someone missing. All those things are real.
Wow, that's scary. But Ray Wang, thank you for letting us know about this. See you soon.
See you soon. Thank you.